All right, team, welcome back to Plastic Surgery Untold. We got a special guest all the way from Chicago joining us today, so we'll get to that in a minute and why, all of his specialty and why it really interacts a lot with what we do on the cast already. So Dr. Chong, we'll get to you in just a minute. We got to save the best for last here. So before we get to that, let's go with the standard, the workhorse, celebrity anesthesia.
Oh, thank you. What's up, everybody? Good to be back for season 2. Excited about this. We've got some good guests lined up and some new topics we're going to dive into. Man, feels good to be back. It's a new year, 2021. Got to be better than 2020. Can we talk
about the house? Because you're finally in the house. You're finally settled.
We can talk about the house. Yep. We're in the house. We're moved in. We finally got most of our furniture, so we are not standing up to eat every meal. That went on for about a month. Other than that, man, some big life changes happening lately.
Well, would you like to share any?
I guess.
Are we saving this?
No,
that sounds like a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah, so about 6 months ago, my partner and I got together and decided that we were going to start our own anesthesia group. So over the past 6 months in the background between doing this and working my regular job, we started an anesthesia group. And now it is officially open for business. We kicked off everything at the start of this year. And we're super excited. We're ready to take over the world. It's called Celebrity Anesthesia, as I'm sure that wasn't too far of a leap.
Surprise. I know you guys were on the edge of your seats to wonder what name it was. But thanks for sharing that, because I was worried. I was worried.
I know. You didn't know what I was going to call it. Average anesthesia was already taken, so had to do something else.
Well, congratulations. I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, someone who started their own business about 3 years ago. It's exciting, nerve-wracking.
It is.
All in the same, and then especially right now with interesting times is Dr. Truong, I know you're the founder of your big group, and you got multiple surgeons, so maybe we'll touch on that just briefly in the future, but I'm sure you can, any words of wisdom, we'll get to you in a little bit, but any words of wisdom you'd like to throw out to celebrity, because it's scary, exciting, all in one.
Yeah, absolutely. It was probably the scariest thing I did when I shut down my practice in Tampa and moved back to Chicago about 6 years ago. I guess that's my 6th year in practice in Chicago, and it literally was the scariest thing I did was signing that lease. But
also probably the most exciting thing.
What's that?
But also probably the most exciting thing you've done.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's probably the best thing I ever did. I don't regret it for 1 minute, but it's a little nerve wracking in the beginning. But it all, if your heart's in it, I think that's the important thing, and things kind of work out. And I couldn't be happier with where I'm at now. So. Travis, I think you're going to do great.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you work and know my partner extremely well, and we have our heads in the right place, and I think that we're focused on patients doing well and really servicing the sites that we're working at and servicing our clients and our surgeons.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, celebrity makes it to your mark.
Alex K is your partner, and he was a great addition to my practice.
Absolutely.
We had MD anesthesia, CRNAs, and we had a good crew. But when he came on, I think he just kind of brought it to the next level. And I like working with the same person with the equal mindset, taking care of patients and putting that as top priority. And he's been great, and you're really lucky to have him.
I love that. That's great to hear.
That's something, I don't want to get us off topic, but there's something celebrity and I talk about that. There's a way to be efficient without hurrying, and it's some of that of having the same team, the same people, everybody knows the routine, and there's even a safety factor involved in that, because it's a 100%. Check and balance of like, hey, this is the routine, this is how we do stuff, and it's really nice, makes it more efficient, better for the patient, better for us, better for everybody, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think since Alex came on, I think we probably cut our turnover time down by almost half. Just because he's just so on point with everything, and we know what each other wants and is looking for a patient, and we'll cancel a patient if they don't meet our criteria, et cetera. But I mean, it's about safety and it's about efficiency at the same time. But
it's funny because that was the other name that celebrity was thinking about. He said cancel anesthesia, it's cancelectomy, and so I was like, dude, I think that sends the wrong vibe to the surgeon.
It does.
But whatever, you do you.
Dr. Truong, I appreciate the words of wisdom and encouragement getting started with the business. But that's pretty much been all that we've had going on at our house. Dr. Gilberto, what's new with you, man?
So, just excited for the 2021 and season 2 of Plastic Surgery Untold. I think there's a lot of really great things in store for us. Kind of just rolled into 2021. and not much has really changed. Just still doing the dermatology thing, and just really excited about that.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, but nothing else exciting going on in your life? I mean, is it fact or fiction that somebody is trying to take your claim to Austin's most beautiful man? I've heard rumors of this. Or no?
I've heard some rumblings. I've heard some rumblings.
There may be a face-off, if you will, on Instagram
man.
coming soon.
Now we're talking.
Stay tuned for this. So,
I like
maybe
that
more
teaser.
More to come on this, because
Awesome.
you know, it's like boxing, anything else. If you don't fight or you don't put up your title, you know, I think it's like a year. It gets put up for grabs.
Yeah,
so
somebody.
At some point, you got to defend the title.
You're gonna have a challenger.
Just saying.
So you think that this certain someone might be like an interim most beautiful man?
Is that a thing? Because if it's a thing, then I hope he is. Well, I'll let you guys in. As some of you know, as we were at our last podcast stuff, we were actually getting really, really close to moving into our new office. Now we've officially in the new office, not quite done yet, but in terms of all the finishing touches, some of it has been a little bit, but we're rolling. It's been absolutely incredible getting some dust off the new building, even though it's brand new, but I've loved it. Loved to have some more space, more flexibility. So those of you that are listening, they've been frustrated with getting appointments, getting into the office. I hope that's going to be better. We're working hard. We've opened up more spots. We've opened up more time. So appreciate it. We're also, able to do a little bit of procedures. We don't have the facility or the setup to do any general anesthesia in our office, but some local procedures, some little touch-up things, some things like that we're going to be able to do. So, and there's a few more exciting things to come in the near future. So boom, making moves in the right direction.
It's a beautiful building, by the way.
Wait, thank you.
Yeah.
G-Bird has helped me do a lot of it. So if there's a couple of crooked shelves, we'll call those the G slant.
I'm trying my best.
Well, Dr. Truong, let's get to you a little bit. And, as everyone who listens to our cast know, I do a lot of Brazilian butt lift, sculpting, liposuction, Brazilian butt lift, fat transfer. And I titled today The Evolution of Liposuction to Liposculpting. And, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. One of the things out here in Texas, you can tell us if it's the same in the Windy City or Tampa when you were there. There's so many terms for liposuction. And so liposuction is this broad, general term. It started back in the 1920s. We messed it up for about 40 or 50 years before it really really took off. But over the last 20, 30 years, it's really evolved, and the techniques have gotten better. The equipment's become better. I think it's sometimes super confusing to patients because you probably could list off 7 or 8 different names for liposuction or liposculpting that people have either just tried to brand or name or different things, and it can be a little confusing. But I do think we've evolved a tremendous way from the old adage of let's just take out as much fat as we can and then hope for the best. And so
right.
You want to let us know a little bit about your practice and what you do, because I know this is a huge portion of your practice.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, my handle is Dr. Reston Body on Instagram and Snapchat. And but on our Instagram,
and you share a bunch of stuff on your Instagram that people can watch and tune in at any time and get a good feel for the stuff you do.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I do OR just like you. I do OR videos, and I do follow-up videos in the office and before and afters and things like that. But one of the things I think that patients are really hungry for, like you said, is really understanding what we do, because it used to be a mystery what we do in the OR, and then now patients are a lot more educated now. They really want to know what we're actually doing in there. So it's a good way. Social media has allowed us to really educate patients in that way. But my practice is focused mainly on breast and body. I do a lot of Brazilian butt lifts, obviously, 25 a month or so, and I do a lot of tummy tucks, Marvin makeovers, and breast, and that's the main focus of my practice now. But as you mentioned earlier, I'm in a multidisciplinary group, so we have several other surgeons that I work with. Kevin Lynn, who's a plastic surgeon, he does similar things to me. And then we have Mark Adahar. He mainly does gynecomastia surgery in males, and then we have a cosmetic gynecologist, Dr. Sue Papali. So it's a true multidisciplinary group that we have going on in Chicago. But for my practice, I'm mainly a breast and body guy. That's what I do. One of the things that you just mentioned was the evolution of liposculpting. So I like to use the term liposculpting because it really is kind of sculpting fat. It used to be that, you know, the concept was just remove as much fat as possible, just take it all, make people as thin as possible in all these areas. And it's really evolved to now we remove strategically fat in certain areas, and then we actually are putting fat back in. And as a matter of fact, I probably put fat back in almost every case somewhere. You know, we don't throw it away. And it's a new concept that's evolved over the past, I would say, probably, you know, 4 or 5 years. And we're kind of in the.
That sounds very familiar to what goes on down here with Dr. Johnny Franco too.
Yeah.
Chong, if you don't mind, maybe let's start from the beginning and walk people through the process and get into some of the specifics so people have a good way to follow this, because let's maybe start at the very beginning just from an evaluation, because everybody likes the idea of liposuction, like a few tiny little spots, quick recovery, not a lot of incisions, looks great, sculpt stuff, but not everybody's a candidate. So, you know, if Gilberto and I walk into the office, you know, how do you determine if somebody's a liposuction tummy tuck candidate? Because I think that's the biggest two pathways that I see in my office, you know, and then there's, fortunately, and I think Celebrity told me that you do some skin tightening devices that has maybe helped some people that were on the fence, but I don't want to jump ahead of ourselves. But how do we go down these pathways and then circle back?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So, you know, the first part of the evaluation is, you know, we have to evaluate all the layers of the tissues, right? So then there's muscle laxity, you have to take that into account, skin laxity, and then obviously the amount of adipose tissue. And I tell my patients, like, you know, like liposuction, it's liposculpting is a great tool, but we're really addressing only the fatty layer. If you have skin laxity or muscle laxity, then we have to use different tools. So you know, I always evaluate the patients and determine how much. If there's tissue laxity, then I explain to them that, you know, they might need a tummy tuck. You know, it kind of depends on the amount of laxity. And then if they've had previous pregnancies and there's diastasis, then we have to address that. And that can't be addressed with liposuction. Obviously, they would need a diastasis repair, which goes along with an abdominoplasty or a tummy tuck. So.
Can I tell you the muscle repair that you brought up, I think is a huge one that people forget about. I feel like people understand the skin laxity a little bit better. Tell people, if you got skin hanging below your panty line or your boxer line, then you probably need that skin removed, you know, as a rule of thumb. But the muscle one, I think, is a little bit more of a hidden nugget, because a lot of times people look in the mirror and say, I don't like this bulge, and they think that that's just stuff that we can lipo. And I typically will have them stand in front of the mirror, or even when we're doing our virtual consults, I'll have them just lightly tap on their stomach, and I'm like, hey, when you feel that hardness, that's the absolute most that I would get you back to, because everything else is either internal fat, intra-abdominal, or the laxity of those muscles that's not pulling that internal fat to what you were describing, correct?
Right. So one of the things I have the patients do, I examine them in standing position, and then I ask them to suck in as hard as they can. and then they really feel those muscles really engaging. And then what I tell them to do is just let it all go. And then then I put my hands, you know, right on the tummy, and they'll see how much my hand comes out when they let it go.
Yeah.
And I tell them that distance is the amount of muscle laxity that you have. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll even pinch the fat while they're sucking in. And then as they let go, I tell them that distance is the amount of muscle laxity that they have. And if they have a decent amount of travel, then that they need a rectus, you know, plication to flatten the tummy.
Sure.
Entirely.
I agree. And this is something where I think it's great that you have this kind of, it sounds like an extended discussion ahead of time. Because I always tell people, I'd rather you be disappointed, you know, here at this consultation and $10,000, $15,000, depending what you have done, you know, and then being disappointed afterwards. Because that's just something that with liposuction, we can't do anything about right now. The day may come that there's devices that'll help with this. But right now, there's real limits to what we can do for that without surgery.
Right. And it's, you know, it's like you said, setting expectations is probably the most important thing that we can do during that pre-op evaluation, and other than making sure they're a good candidate and being a doctor first and ruling out any contraindications, et cetera, but really setting expectations and making sure that their expectation meets what you're able to deliver. And as long as that is on point, then you can really mitigate a lot of the unhappy patients.
I like all those points. Dr. Franco mentioned something just a minute ago when he was talking about liposculpting versus liposuction. And, and Dr. Truong touched on it too, where instead of just trying to take out as much fat as possible now, we're really trying to tailor and target where we pull that fat from, and then targeted fat transfer with when we put it back in. I would love to hear you and Dr. Franco talked about some of the most bang for your buck spots that you can get or extract that fat from in lipo areas that make a big difference.
Ooh, I think there's a like 15-fold stuff there.
Yeah.
Well, one, I think it varies from person to person. It's always so funny because, especially since you're like me and we do a lot of fat transfer, there's people that'll be like, they've either had a tummy tuck or have had lipo, and they're like, well, I've never had my neck lipo. Can I use that for my butt? And I guess if you look like my little Frenchie who's got a huge neck, maybe. But short of that, I don't know. I tell people, that's dust because one would. There's just a limit in some areas, and maybe the opposite of your answer is the areas I caution people in terms of a massive amount of volume, and you got to be careful about over resecting people. A neck, one, they got to have a good skin contour, and hopefully we'll get to a little skin tightening a little bit. But I think J Plasma, Renuvion, Body Tide have helped those categories a little bit, especially for neck. Arms is another one that I do many more arms now that we do incorporate some skin tightening. That's one that I was always a little nervous about if they weren't your healthy 20-year-old with nice tight arms to begin with. And then inner thighs. I think those are three areas you got to be super careful. Belly, love handles, flanks. If anyone watches our video stuff, I always put people on their side because I think you can go to town with and it goes to your point, Dr. Truong, about the sculpting, because then I can really mark out the butt. I can lipo around the butt. Even when we don't do fat transfer, and I'm sure this is what a lot of your patients say too, they swear that their butt or their waist looks better even if you didn't transfer any fat, just because you've gotten that shape down, you've lipoed around the butt to make that a nice idea. And I think this is where the evolutionist change of, let's just suck as much fat as we can out into like, let's take advantage of the butt, the hip dips, the chest, in terms of other stuff to give them some shape.
Sure.
Is that something that you see in your practice? We may have lost Dr. Chong because he's giving us the mad dog stare that he doesn't agree with us on the Zoom. Well, as we get it back with our little technical difficulties, this is what happens when you're worldwide on the greatest podcast in the world is voted by us.
That's exactly right.
But until we get it back, I think these are a couple things that are super, super important to understand. To celebrities' point is there's some areas that we can get a lot of fat from, some areas that we can't. I think once you start talking about people who've had a tummy tuck, people who've had liposuction, people who've had some people who've had some other types of surgeries, that they still struggle a little bit in terms of some of those things. So I think that's something that we'll just have to guide patients through to make sure that they're in a good spot with all of that stuff. So good point, celebrity. Good point. I don't say that very often, but sometimes.
Would you say that these patients that have a lot of skin laxity need additional procedures like brachioplasties in their arms or thigh lifts, for the inner thigh skin laxity that you were talking about earlier?
I do, and this is one of those things where we have to be really good about evaluating people because, one, sometimes they're going to come back and get a tummy tuck. Sometimes they're going to come back and get an arm lift. Sometimes about some of these things, and so just making sure that people know that those are things that are in the future. There's things that people might need, and so no question.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I think also kind of knowing what the goal is. Is the goal like to get enough fat for another procedure, or is the goal just to improve the overall shape of stuff? So I think that's going to be a huge one for people.
Do you typically do them in stages then, or is it something that can be done at the same time?
Depends. So typically try and limit the length of the surgeries because if we go too long, that can be a problem for people too in terms of that. But I feel like I'm getting off topic. We definitely can come back to weight loss, arm lift stuff. But I think those are good questions definitely in terms of combination because hopefully we'll circle that. Liposuction a lot of times is done in combination with other procedures. And so this is part of how you can liposculpt people. Like Dr. Truong said, a lot of the tummy tucks and other things tend to involve liposuction because if you only do the tummies, pull that down, but you don't address the waist, the back, people can still be very square. So I think we got to get them into a good spot, but still being safely in terms of the length of the surgery to your point, Gilberto, and then to, trying to get people into a spot where we're going to give them the best shape possible, but not put anybody in harm at all.
Completely agree. Yeah.
The other thing that we always talk about, and you've seen us doing the OR Celebrity, is talking about. Dr. Chong, are you back? I think we're close. We're close to getting back, and we didn't let producer Donald in on this podcast, and Dr. Chong took his spot. So I honestly think there's some backdoor stuff.
I lost the signal, so I had to switch to my phone. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Michigan. So.
Well, I appreciate you working us in. We thought it was producer Donald. He was mad because we gave you his spot, so he was trying to sabotage you. Yeah. Well, appreciate it. We were just talking about how.
Yeah, no, I apologize. It's a little. Go ahead.
No, we were just talking about, areas we could get this, and how what you can do with liposuction always depends a little bit if someone's had liposuction before, tummy tuck, other stuff. And so especially if we're trying to use that fat, we got to be super clear with people about what's realistic in terms of what we can do and can't do.
Right. Like that goes back to the expectations, one of the things I tell all my patients is, we're limited by what your body's giving us, both in terms of how much fat we're able to safely harvest. And then also when we're injecting fat, how much the skin stretches and the tissue stretches. Because I tell them, for instance, in the buttocks, your butt's not a elastic balloon. It just doesn't keep stretching out, and as much we can't put as much fat in as we want. So it tells us when we have to stop, and when there's a safe amount and reasonable amount. But that being said, my average volume for a BBL is, over 1,000 cc's for even somewhat normal BMI patients. So.
And I don't want to get us off topic, but I think this is just such a change from the old days. And we talked about, and this is part of the whole liposculpting, is that, it used to be just throwing that stuff away, but how much you can shape. And there's the full BBL, but I think you alluded to it earlier that very few liposuction procedures, even if it's not a true BBL, whether it's a tummy tuck, other stuff, you use that fat for something, just to kind of add a little bit of a shape. And I tell people it's this new paradigm of three-dimensional shaping. It used to be that we could remove skin, remove fat, but now we can actually add and shape a little bit more than we ever could.
Right. And the concepts have evolved. It used to be Brazilian butt lifts as early as when I was in Tampa just 4 or 5 years ago. Everybody was just injecting just into the butt, and now the techniques have evolved, and the understanding that the butt and the hips and the thighs is one aesthetic unit. So you really have to inject into the hips and the thighs as well as the butt to really make it look natural. So it just doesn't look like just a little bubble butt or that insect look.
Yeah.
Just
let's. I'd love to, because I know you do some a decent amount of this, but I think you actually do some of the Renuvion J Plasma skin tightening device. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we have Vaser, and I use it in some cases, and then the Renuvion has been great for adding that extra element of skin tightening in some patients where, in the past, we tell them that they for sure need a mini tuck or some kind of skin get those patients to be able to avoid having a big incision surgery.
What do you tell people in terms of skin tightening with the Renuvion? Because we have it in our practice, and I typically tell them if a tummy tuck's going to get you 80% tighter, I typically tell them somewhere between 15 to 20% for the J Plasma Renuvion would get you. What has been your experience if you were going to put those two in a category? Because even with the tummy tuck, I tell people, if you got stretch marks going all the way up to your breast, there's a limit, because I can pull the skin as tight as I can, but you still got to be able to stand up straight at some point, and then that skin is going to lose a little bit of that turg over time. But again, that's a spot where I think J Plasma Renuvion has been a game changer for some of the massive weight loss people that just have like a turgor issue to their skin.
Right. Yeah. No, I usually tell them that, with Renuvion, we can, you can get, up to 20-25%, skin tightening than without it. It's like I said, it's not a magic bullet, because, we wish that there was a tool that could shrink wrap skin, like shrink wrap, like when you apply heat to it. But it
Just not all the way there yet.
It's almost amazing, like, these technologies come, and this is
way. But that being said, I mean, I think a 20% solid improvement.
no question, especially in an area like the arms, the inner thighs. I think that skin tightening in those areas makes a huge difference, just a little bit, because I don't know what your experience has been in your practice, but I've been able to say yes to a lot more people in arms that I've turned away in the past, because I was like, you're not bad enough for an arm lift, but you're, you already have a little bit of borderline skin laxity, and if we just did arm lipo, I think you'd be disappointed. And this again goes to liposculpting. We're combining some of these new devices and techniques has really made a big difference.
Yeah, arms. I used to hate doing arms. I used to really dread it because of the results, and there was skin laxity. You wouldn't get the results you wanted, and et cetera. But I think the Renuvion for the arms has been a really kind of almost a game changer for that area. And then also kind of understanding a little bit more about sculpting the arms in a different fashion with the high def techniques. We're outlining the muscle contours on the outside of the arm. Because one of the things that I think a lot of patients, the patients don't even understand what it is. They always do like this, right? But most of the time people aren't seeing your arm raised up like that. They're seeing your arm in the kind of this position or this position. So it's really this outer area of the arm that I've really come to really focus on sculpting out. And that's made a huge difference. The patients don't even know that they want that until they see it. And then the Renuvion for the underarms, adding even just a 20% tightening has really made a big difference in the results in an arm lipo. And I love doing arms now. I do it in almost every case if the patients will agree to it.
That's awesome.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the high definition liposculpting that you do, because this is something that I think the term gets thrown around a lot and is used a little bit loosely, but pertains to some of what you're talking about. Can include some fat transfer, just some isolated liposculpting in a more kind of precise area, just to give some of that look of muscle structure and so forth like that.
Right. So exactly. So I think the concept of high definition is essentially trying to accentuate the muscle contours. And again, like you said, that term's used a little bit loosely. The guys that really do like the true high def, they're doing Vaser and Renuvion and fat grafting. It's pretty extreme, and almost I feel like it's too extreme for most patients. So I do more of kind of like a mid def, where I will focus on the muscle contours, the semilunar lines, and the midline, rough A, et cetera. And just to give a little more definition, but I think that sharp, really extreme high def stuff is a little extreme for most people.
Do you do, and because this is a question that comes up all the time about etching, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll give you my 2 cents for whatever it's worth, but it sounds like you don't mind doing a little bit of stuff, but the extreme etching of trying to just contour everybody to have an 8-pack or something, maybe it's not a great idea in your opinion.
Yeah, it's, and again, it's just an opinion, but like the results that I see, I mean, obviously there's some good results out there, but oftentimes it looks too surgical. Yeah. If you know what I mean, like it's almost too obvious that something was done. And when I do a case, my goal is, I tell patients like the best plastic surgery is when people look at you and wonder if you had something done. So sometimes a super aggressive high def, it's just like I said, it doesn't look real, and I think that's not necessarily a good thing.
And the other thing that I tell people with the extreme high definition is that it's not an option for everybody, because the thing you got to be super careful about, if people already have some skin laxity and that doesn't retract right, that doesn't sit in a good spot, it can look really bad. and then it's really hard to come back and fix, because a lot of times when you're doing etching, you're just really taking that fat down all the way to the skin. And then, you know, to your point, if you're going to the extreme true high definition, you're adding some fat in those areas to give the look of those abs. And again, that only works and holds true as long as that skin is nice and tight and right in a good spot, which unfortunately isn't everybody, isn't this guy's belly. But you know, and then the fear is that over time, if people's skin changes, you know, life happens, gain weight, you know, weight gain, weight loss, pregnancy, so forth. If you're very extreme, it can look off after the weight changes and the skin changes. Would you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I mean, it sometimes doesn't age well, as you said, because especially if you're adding fat, somewhere, I mean, that fat isn't necessarily going to stay right over that muscle as you age, because you know, skin laxity and tissue laxity, it's going to start to move. So you know, I think a better approach would be a more conservative, you know, kind of etching, and then allowing the patients to work the muscles naturally and build the muscles. And if you thin out the tissues just enough, then their natural muscle definition will show through. And I think that's a better look, and that ages better in most patients.
Just because I don't want to run out of time, but you brought up a point of Vaser and some. What other devices have you included into your liposculpting? Because I think this is part of the evolution of liposuction is incorporating some of these other devices, whether they're energy based, whether they're ultrasonic, whether they're other things. And there's a lot of devices out there that could be an entire topic in its own. It's the liposuction devices available in the world, because it's cray sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much technology out there, but you know, I started my practice out doing a lot of smart lipo, and then I've kind of moved over to Vaser, and I use the PAL, the micro air PAL for every case, and I, you know, and then we can, again, totally different topic that we can talk for forever on with cannulas. But if I'm just going to say one thing, you know, I only use the 270 degree 5-hole cannula. 4 millimeter, and that's my workhorse. I never suction with the holes facing up, and that's just from, you know, having experience that if you only suction with the holes facing down, you're not going to cause skin irregularities. You're almost never going to be able to do that, because you have to leave that really thin layer. I call it the baby fat layer. You know, like young kids have that tiny layer of fat just underneath the skin that keeps the skin nice and smooth, and you have to keep that layer intact. And so if you only face the holes down, then you're never going to damage that layer.
Yeah, I agree. Do you mind just giving us a 15-second maybe cliff notes on Smart Lipo, Vaser, PALs, just for people listening? Because I think that people get confused what those are actually are. And so since you have experience with all of them, maybe just a quick little 15-second on each one, just so people can kind of put them in perspective, that they can all be kind of used either in combination or different, but it's not as simple as just one or the other. Because I'm like you, I may use Vaser and PALs and J Plasma on one person, but maybe not another, depending on what we're doing and the location and body part and those type of things.
Right. So all these are adjuncts to liposuction. What I tell patients at the end of the day, it's liposuction. We're going to be suctioning out fat, but what we do before, during, and after may be different using these tools. So Smart Lipo, for instance, is a laser assisted liposuction. So it's a laser fiber that kind of melts the fat and heats and coagulates before you suction. Vaser uses the ultrasonic energy, and same thing, is just kind of prepping the fat and cavitating the fat, allowing the fat to come out more easily. The PAL is a power assisted liposuction, and that helps the surgeon during the liposuction part, where the cannula is moving at a very high rate back and forth, which helps to cavitate the tissues, and also to help the vibration helps the fat to kind of come out easy and move through the tissues easier. And then the Renuvion is something that we do after we remove the fat, and that's to treat the skin. So that's J Plasma or Renuvion, and that uses the Bovi electrocurrent to heat up the skin and provide skin retraction. So yeah, super confusing. Patients get
well, and maybe something we'd have to have you back on another time, because I think even going in detail about all these, because you can kind of see, even just listening to the little cliff notes you said about how some of these can actually be kind of additive, you know, and in conjunction depending on the situation. One of the things that I love about the PALs is that I'll actually use it, as it's been described for the safe lipo method. I love using it after I've done everything. Then I will use the basket cannula with the holes on each side, but with no suction on, and just with the vibration, because just to try and smooth stuff out, especially even when I have people on their side and I've lipoed around the butt, just to make sure people don't get an artificial shelf. I think it's another chance to just try and make sure you make stuff as smoothly as possible. So there's a lot of little nuggets that I think people don't realize in terms of the extra steps, to your point, and it's almost hard to explain exactly which step is best for what person, because it's not exactly the same for everybody depending on the situation. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's really a great time to be a liposculptor, because all these tools are available to us. But to your point, like, yeah, it's you have to use the right tools for the right process and the right problem. Yeah, I love the basket cannula. I use the basket cannula, the angled basket cannula, to actually do my fat injection, and I find that with the PAL, so that allows me to open up the tissue safely. And I know that with that basket cannula, if I'm injecting in the right direction, which is only from above, I'm not going to be able to get in any muscle or any vessels. So fat embolus is almost non-existent if you use that technique. But anyway, the basket cannula is great for opening tissues up and still maintaining the intravascular and networks while you're doing it.
And since we got celebrity here, how do you do most of your liposculpting, liposuction, away from people getting tummy tucks and other stuff? Do you do it with anesthesia? Do you do it under local? Do you do both? What's your thoughts? And I hope you're putting celebrity out of business right now.
No, I actually these days, I mean, I pretty much do everything under general, because I flip patients. In flipping them, you kind of really want airway control, and I'm sure Travis will speak to that. Is that the anesthesia is way more comfortable when they have airway control when we're flipping patients back and forth, and so I do almost everything under general, and I tell patients that to do what I need to do, you're going to want to be asleep for this, and you're not going to be asleep for very long, but you'll be totally out. And I find that I can do what I need to do, and not worry about the patients if I'm doing it.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think it's safer. You've got a controlled airway in place. You're able to turn the patient. We're able to be a little bit quicker and more efficient with some of those patient turns. Me and Dr. Franco, working together quite a bit down here. We've really got a good game plan together. When we do these patients under general, I'm able to fluid control them. I'm able to fluid resuscitate them well and adequately for post-op, so they wake up and they're not nauseous. They feel great. And when you're doing them under local, you've got this awake patient there. It's really tough to get them numb enough for large volume liposuction. I just don't think it's the best way to do it. We also have so many advances with airway techniques and video laryngoscopes and things that make it safe to put patients all the way to sleep and to do a general anesthetic. We're not walking into a place with kind of getting caught with our pants down in a bad situation anymore. Now that things have advanced and we're able to control, almost every airway that walks through the door at a hospital. But in a surgery center, we're able to really pre-op and evaluate these patients before they even come in.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, because just we're running a little short on time. Any other big take-homes about liposculpting? Anything that you'd want people to kind of really, really know about?
So one of the things that I like to tell my patients, and because a lot of them, there's a lot of bad press with Brazilian butt lifts, especially with fat emboli and deaths and things like that. And so one of the things I always like to talk to them about is how we keep them safe in the OR. And so again, number one, it starts with anesthesia and adequate fluid resuscitation, and then the techniques and the tools that we use to avoid fat emboli or vessel injury, et cetera.
Sure.
I did a short video on one of the tools that I use, and the angle basket cannula is one of the big parts, and then also injecting only from above. And again, everybody has opinions on this, but that's kind of my technique, is I only inject from from the natal cleft incision and the iliac crest incision posteriorly from above. I never inject from below. And
and that's, I think, one of the things that's important is that I don't think people realize it's something that's top of mind for us all the time. And there's so many little things. And obviously, we could go on and on about positioning, anesthesia, not having them paralyzed, so we get muscle reflex, fat, it goes into fat. Yeah. It's all the same stuff that you're talking about, but how many steps there are and that you're constantly thinking about it. Because their safety is the number one priority, which is to the point you made earlier about, there's only so much fat you could put into the butt. I mean, it's easier for you to market and say, oh, I put, 2,000 cc's in each butt and everybody, but that's also when you get fat necrosis and other skin necrosis and problems. So, I love your example, because I always tell patients, your butt's an envelope. If it's a large envelope, you can still only put that in. If it's a medium envelope, like, you can only fit what you can fit in a medium envelope. Like, pushing harder ain't gonna make it any better.
Right.
Not to put you on the spot, but we always do a little something we call behind the bovie. So if there was one little nugget about your surgeries that people never know but you think is super cool, what would that be? Something a little behind the scenes nugget that you would share.
Man, that's a tough one.
And it doesn't have to be listening to Travis's bad jokes, because everybody already knows that.
I think one of the things, and I don't know if this is like an in surgery thing or not, but really one of the things that I like to tell my patients is I really care about the result and how they're going to feel about it afterwards, because I tell them that one unhappy patient, I see 40 patients a day, one unhappy patient ruins my entire day. I really do kind of agonize over and making sure that I'm delivering, what they're looking for, and then just being safe, being a doctor first. So that's the other thing, is that I go into every surgery thinking that I'm the doctor first, and to take care of the patient and be safe. And that's the number one thing on my mind in almost every case that I do when I start.
I think that's a good one. I don't think most people realize how maybe personally we take it when somebody's unhappy, because we really, really do want everybody to be super happy. We know that this is a big event and life-changing thing for them, and so we want them to get the most out of it. So I think that's a great one. That's a great one. What about a little, do we get a quote of the day?
We do have a little quote of the day.
Ooh, boom, boom, boom.
Let me
celebrity's a new man. Usually he hands this off to Gilberto, but new man, new year. Let's do it.
So I figured this one's about improvement, and me and a couple of the guys from Plastic Surgery Untold got together last night, and we actually watched the Conor McGregor fight. I figured we were going to be all together today, and we worked together anyway, so social distancing wasn't as big of an issue. We were able to just keep our masks on and watch the fight. But this one says, it's from Catherine Dunn. It says, in boxing, they say it's the punch you don't see coming that knocks you out. In the wider world, the reality we ignore or deny is the one that weakens our most impassioned efforts towards improvement.
Damn.
Wow, that's deep.
Trying to educate you guys.
Boom.
I like it.
Well, Doctor, no, go ahead, Gilbert.
No, I like that. I like
Did
that.
you have a better one?
No.
Well, tune in for the next episode, and maybe we'll have one. Dr. Chong, I can't thank you enough for giving up your Sunday to record this and taking time out of your rare weekend off to join us. So appreciate it, and hopefully we can steal you back again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great, and I just want to tell you, this is a really cool thing that you're doing, and I think what it allows patients, it almost feels like we're having a conversation in the surgeon's lounge and allowing patients to eavesdrop in on that conversation, which I think is pretty cool. I think patients are really hungry for this kind of information, in-depth information, and I think it's a really great thing that you're doing. I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Tell us one more time, just for people listening, your website and Instagram handle, because you do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's ChicagoRestonBody.com, and then my Instagram is Chicago Plastic Surgery. And then I also have a Dr. Reston Body on Instagram and Snapchat.
Awesome. Boom. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, I appreciate everyone listening to Plastic Surgery Untold, the greatest podcast in the world, as voted by us. So we'll be back. Lots of more cool stuff to come next week. All right. See you guys. Bye.
All right.
See ya.